Okay, so we do Kṛttikā Nakṣatra. Like I said, it is located from 26 degrees Aries to 10 degrees Taurus. And it is covered by the Pleiades star group. The Shakti is the power to burn and purify. The symbol is an axe or a razor. The motivation is Kama. And the dosha is Kapha. Guna is Raja, the Yoni goat, element earth, the Gana Rakshasha, and the planetary ruler is the sun. So we're going to cover these concepts. Moon becomes exalted in the second part of this nakshatra, and if we're dealing with Kritika, the root word is Krit, is to cut, to divide, and to destroy. So there's lots of, it can go both ways. And these people can be very critical thinkers. They're self-assertive, sometimes forceful and confident, very sharp and decisive. So this symbol is a knife. It can be used to attack somebody, or it can be used to protect somebody. So we see this two-side element of this nakshatra. Also, Agni is the deity. The deity of this nakshatra is Agni, the fire god. And he had, they say, two faces. So this nakshatra goes both ways. And also we see Kṛttikā, the son of Śiva, becomes a deity or a ruler of this nakshatra. So Kṛttikā and Agni, these people, you see them dealing with firearms, guns and weapons. Also, it is related to purification. The fire of digestion, when you eat food, is related to that. Sharp instruments and so on. The native, so somebody who is born with a prominent placement in Kṛttikā. Prominent placements are, for example, the ascendant, because this becomes the individual, the position of the moon, position of the sun, or the Atmakaraka, the planet with the highest degrees, or the first lord position. If somebody has a prominent position, because we always have to look at the whole chart, and some positions are weak and others are strong, and these strong positions become a prominent position. So these natives who have Kṛttikā prominent, you would say, they are very attentive. They really love to reach their goals. It's a little bit like a Vishaka Nakshatra. They're really one-point attention, focused on their goals. Straightforward. They can be fearless. There can be fiery bursts. They suddenly explosive energy when they are challenged. But they can be very supportive towards family, friends, and especially mothers, because we will see the Pleiades is a very nurturing position. They are fighters for social cause, because we're dealing with fire, the fire of digestion. They are big eaters. They have a great appetite. They are energetic. They can be famous. They love big places, like high ceilings, because they have big auras. They can be a little bit of attention seekers, sometimes short-tempered, and they are famous for having a critical speech. They can a very sharp speech if the position is afflicted. They are well versed in the scripture because the caste is Brahmin, so you also see these fire rituals, which we just spoke about, because Brahmin priests, they do fire rituals. So these people are well versed in scriptures. They can be stubborn, militant, and very extrovert. These are some of the symptoms of this Kṛttikā placement. If you have, for example, the second house here, position, or the second lord in Kritika, These people can be very interested in cooking. They make great cooks, for example, or you see them working in kitchens where they use knives to cut vegetables and meat. Also butchers. When you have the third house, for example, or the third lord in Kṛttikā, then these razor sharp words can come to the forefront. And the words that they speak are sometimes very difficult to digest. They can be multitasking and they can be overachievers, because this is the first Kama house, and also in the 11th house, I would say. If you have, for example, the 10th and the 4th lord connected, you see here house of career and here house of vehicles and properties. If this and this house is connected, you see people working in car factories, for example, because you have to be very specific. And high tech, these people love high tech, technology also. The 7th lord, because Agni, this fire god, he was famous for trying to seduce the wives of the Kṛttikās, the 6 Kṛttikās. So if the 7th lord becomes involved, because this is the house of relationships and love, you see, and if this position becomes afflicted or weak, you see causes of illicit affairs, and also the attraction to friends, partners, because Agni Dev, he tried to seduce the 7 wives of the 7 sages. If the 5th lord or the 5th house is involved, if it's a strong position, you would see nurturing. You see really good parents or people who work with children. Yeah, 5th lord or 5th house. Yeah. Because Pleiades give a very nurturing energy. But if the position becomes weak, then you see childbirth issues, because you see also abortions, because you need to use, or you used to use a knife to open up the belly to take out the baby. You see also devious pregnancies, adoptions, and raising other people, their children. If the first house or the first lord is connected to Kritika, you will see persons with cuts on the face from accidents and wounds. Yeah, if the position is weak. The mythological story, because you see also these laboratory pregnancies and CRISPR kits now in these days, gene editing and all these things. So the mythological story goes that the demons or the enemies of the gods were in battle, and these gods needed help. So they were praying for help, and it was decided that the son of Śiva would be the one who would beat or conquer the enemies of the gods. But Śiva, he was in the Himalayas meditating, he didn't really want a son or a child with Parvati, and then they were thinking, how are we going to get the son of Śiva? So they approached Kamadev, and Kamadev, he is also known as Cupid or something amongst the gods, to get in one way or the other the semen of Śiva. So he did that. I don't know how he did it, but somehow or the other he got that, and he brought that semen to the earth, and there was 6 children born. Parvati embraced these children at some point because she really loved those children, and they became one boy with 6 heads and 12 arms, and he was known as Skanda. Skanda, yeah. That's the mythological story behind this. So what you see is also these laboratory pregnancies in these days related. It's called in vitro fertilization places or CRISPR kits with gene editing. Those people, also the, what do you say here? The Ghana is Rakshasha. It's a bit demoniac. It can be a little bit bad if this position is weak, but these people, because they are so focused on the goal, they want to achieve that goal by any means. It doesn't matter what they have to do. So they can become masterminds. They can, focused on the result. They can become impatient. They can become workaholics. But you see also robbers, invaders, plunderers, vandals. And this nakshatra is also related to mass killings, genocide, and war. So that is the downside. And I will give you a few examples in real life about these positions. However, if the position is strong, we're almost there. I'm already on the second page. If the position is strong, these people are in search for this nurturing. They want this nurturing. In what I just discussed, this is more when the position is connected to Algol. Algol is a fixed star in the zodiac, and it's considered the worst star in the zodiac. Algol, the mythological story goes, this is just under the constellation of Medusa, I think, and she was very beautiful in the beginning, I think, according to Greek mythology. Was a very beautiful woman, but there was an illicit affair with Neptune, I guess, and somebody cursed her to have snake hair. So you see the Medusa having all these snakes in her hair. So that is Algol, and it's considered a very bad position. Algol is at 1 degree of Taurus. So if you have a planet at 1 degree of Taurus, you have to pay attention with that person. However, if it's after the 6 degrees, when it conjoins the Pleiades, then this person will be very nurturing and in search for nurturing, meditation, mind, body and soul practices, healing therapies, environments where people do yoga, for example. So even though it is very famous to be a warlike nakshatra, it has also on the other side this very nurturing meditative side. So therefore we use Vedic astrology to check these more detailed degrees, because that's where you get the secrets of a person. Otherwise you will just describe this and sometimes you will be completely wrong. But through lunar astrology, through the detailed information of the degrees, we find this information about a person. Yeah. So a few examples of people who have Kṛttikā. So I would start with Jim Jones. Jim Jones. Do you know Jim Jones? Jim Jones? It was that this was if I opened up his chart and he I can't remember, he was Cancer rising, so Cancer became the first house because the zodiac keeps turning. This is now Aries, but he had Cancer rising and he had Mars in his first house in Ashlesha and his Sun in the 11th house in Kritika, in Taurus, in Kritika. And yeah, there is more to his chart, but we can not discuss this. But this Ashlesha is also such a ruthless nakshatra, and you put Mars there. It's like the warlike planet. And if you study his chart, this person was a very famous American preacher, but he was a cult leader. He was a political activist, and his movement was called the Apostolic Socialism. And he created the People's Temple. He created his own church, but it was a sectarian church. You see that with Ashlesha also. And and you see that through his Rahu position in the 9th house. People with Rahu, they create their own religion in the 9th house a lot. And his son in Kṛttikā in the 11th house. And eventually he orchestrated a devious plan of a mass suicide with 909 people who committed suicide, and 304 of them were children. And he shot himself also in the head, and all these other people were taking cyanide. So this is like when Kritika goes wrong. This is an example of Kritika. Those people, especially with Ashlesha, you see that. If these positions are afflicted, then a person like that can appear. Then you had Eva Braun. You know Eva Braun. You have heard of Eva Braun.
Adolf Hitler
Wife.
Wife.
Yeah, or a partner, yeah. The wife of Hitler. She was a photographer. You see also lots of photographers with this nakshatra. And she had her seventh lord, Mars, in this nakshatra. And seventh lord represents partner. So her husband or her partner was a general. Because the seventh lord in Kritika means partner becomes somebody military or especially with Mars. And also there was a suicide. She attempted suicide twice in her early life. And eventually also with Hitler himself, they committed suicide. Then you have Yasser Arafat. You know Yasser Arafat. He was a Palestinian leader. He was a nationalist. He was an anti-Zionist. And he married a very young lady when he was 62. Okay, the remedies. Also Vladimir Putin. He's in the news a lot these days. He has Kritika. So you see lots of CEOs and corporate leaders and government leaders with this nakshatra. The remedies is the worship of Krishna by chanting, or the sun god by the Gayatri mantra, or observing fasts on the 6th phase of the moon. The moon goes from new moon to full moon. On the 6th day of the moon, you can fast to counteract the negative energies of this nakshatra if you have this in your chart. So if you go to School of Vedic Astrology on YouTube, you send me your birth details and I will give you your free report, and then you can check which nakshatras do I have, because you will have 10. 9 plus the ascendant. Yeah, and then we will analyze which ones are the important ones for you. And also you can do a fire ritual when the moon transits this nakshatra. So every month, the moon takes 1 month, 28 days to go through all the nakshatras. So when the moon transits every month and through Kritika, you can do a fire ritual to also counteract the negative energies of this nakshatra if you have it in your chart. And you can also wear Mukhi Rudraksha, you can worship Śiva, Paramashiva to fulfill your desires, destroyer of sins, and it is related to the Sahasrara chakra, or the psychic energy. Which one is that?
I don't know. Is it? I don't know.
It's one of the top nakshatras.
Yeah.
Sahasrara chakra, and it represents the psychic energies. Okay. And you see also lots of actors and singers with this nakshatra, like Cameron Diaz, Bob Dylan, Mick Jagger, and the list goes on. So that was it for Kṛttikā Nakṣatra.